guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, today's video is going to be with the little bean. I'm going to be telling you guys all about my labor and delivery story, all about the journey to get this little one here, because let me tell you, it was definitely a journey. So I have some vlog footage from early on when I went into labor, and in that footage I explained to you guys what happened in my two most recent doctor's appointments. I explained to you guys that my contractions are getting closer together and they're getting stronger. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and insert that vlog footage in now. This is what we call, how can you find the least flattering angle as a 9+ month pregnant woman? I think this takes the cake. Oh, Jesus. So it is currently 6:15 in the morning. It is August 28th. And I was awoken by contractions at 3 o'clock this morning. Let me go to my little app. You can see I've been timing them on my app. Times like how far apart they are and how long they last. So it seems that I am in, well, I guess I got to give a background of like my appointments.
Yeah.
So I had an appointment on the 22nd. And when they checked me, I was 2 centimeters dilated and 50% effaced. And so she was able to do like a small membrane sweep, which means that she just takes her fingers and she separates like the amniotic sac. You look so uncomfortable.
No, I'm stretching my foot.
Oh,
yeah, I'm straight.
Which means that she uses her fingers to separate the amniotic sac from my uterus, I guess. And so if your body and the baby is ready for labor, that'll kickstart labor in the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, I did not go into labor, sadly and clearly. So I had an appointment yesterday, the 27th, and when she checked me, like as soon as she inserted her finger, she was like, "Are you in labor?" Like, because I guess she could feel how low his head was. So I'll show you guys the little picture or whatever. So if you look at that picture, he is currently at a 0. So his head is like right at the top of my, I guess, vagina. At first she said I was 5 centimeters dilated, but then she went back and said I'm 4 centimeters, 75% effaced. She was able to stretch me to 5 centimeters. So she did another sweep. She was able to get a good sweep in this time. It could jumpstart labor. So that was about, how many hours ago? It hasn't even been 24 hours because our appointment was at noon. So I was woken up at like 3 o'clock in the morning by contractions. And my midwife told me to just take a Benadryl, try to sleep if I can. They were really impressed that I've made it this far and I haven't been feeling like pain. So they said it sounds like I have a pretty high pain tolerance, which I'm like, ew, that's a good thing. I'm thinking if I was already almost 5 centimeters and I've been having contractions for about 3 hours now, hopefully that's pushed me to like almost 6 centimeters. So by the time I actually go to the birthing center, it'll be time to just like push him out. So I'm hoping he comes today. I'm ready for pregnancy to be over. I'm just ready to like meet him at this point. Kevin just made me some breakfast, just ate, and we're going to just lay down and relax. We haven't even done like a house like update that we moved, but we have like his little bassinet and stuff by the bed. On Kevin's side, he has little diaper, if it'll focus, diaper changing station. So we're more than prepared. So my due date was August 24th. It's the 28th. They say normally first time moms go 40 weeks and 3 days. So we're 1 day past that. So yeah, I'm just happy that things are progressing enough that it doesn't look like I'll have to be induced or like have a C-section or anything like that. They said if he's not born today, they will be very shocked if he's not here by Friday. So that made me feel good. My arm is slowly dying. You have anything you want to say? Oh, Father Abraham of one son.
I'm weak. I'm just excited. You know? That's all I gotta say. And over here, Superwoman over here ain't got no pain. Pain tolerance on 1,000,000. Apparently. Like we're gonna have an excellent birth experience. All right, mommy. See you soon, buddy.
So we're gonna lay down, probably watch some, what is it called?
Nightmare's Kitchen.
Nightmare's Kitchen. We've been like obsessed with that show recently for some reason. And we'll check back in. I'm just gonna say when things progress, not if, when. So that vlog footage was about, I want to say like 3 or 4 a.m. and the pain wasn't anything horrible. It really just felt like period cramps. My stomach would tighten up every couple minutes and then it would release and it would go away and it was fine. But about 6:30, like 7 o'clock, I noticed that they were starting to get a little intense. Kevin and I were watching Kitchen Nightmares and one contraction hit me and I just like grabbed his hand and like squeezed it and I was like, that was a real contraction? Like that was a contraction. But I still was not convinced yet that I was in labor, so I waited. And sure enough, I kept having those like strong contractions. So I was like, okay, I think something is actually going to happen this time. I called my mom and I was like, okay, so I'm having some real contractions. I think you should go ahead and get on the road. You guys know my mom lives in Chesapeake. And so I wanted to give her as early of a heads up as possible to go ahead and get on the road. And so by the time I got off the phone with her, they were consistently coming like every 3 minutes and they were strong. I want to say probably like 6 out of 10. So I was able to talk through them, but they weren't as easy to get through as the contractions earlier in the night around like 3 or 4 o'clock. So at this point, Kevin and I took showers, we brushed our teeth, like we got ourselves put together. I had sworn that I was going to do my makeup, like look really cute, have a beat face, but by the time those contractions started, I was like, no, we'll just do the bare minimum. I think I like dabbed on some concealer and some powder and did mascara and that was it. And so at this point, I was having to stop and breathe through the contractions. I was like, whoo. And this was about 8:15, I remember, because that's when I called my doula and I explained to her like the contractions are getting, you know, stronger and closer together. At about 8:30, I want to say, I called my midwife and I told her that I needed to come to the birth center. I think you guys know, yeah, that I gave birth or was planning to give birth at a birthing center as opposed to a hospital. So I called my midwife and I told her that I needed to come in. I needed the support. I felt like labor was really progressing. The contractions were strong and close together, and so I needed to come in. And so at this point, I called my mom and I told her, I said, don't meet me at the house, meet me at the birthing center. He's definitely going to be born today. These are real contractions. At this point in my head, I was thinking like, okay, if this is what contractions feel like, I'll be good. Like there's definitely no way that I'll need to be transferred to the hospital to get an epidural. Like I'll be fine. Everything feels okay. So we get in the car and at this point the contractions are like hitting me and the birthing center is about 12 minutes away from our house. So I knew it was going to be painful for me to sit on my butt if I got hit with a contraction. So I rode like holding on to the headrest like this. I rode like backwards, if that makes sense. We arrive and my doula is there and my midwife is there and I'm just, you know, contracting. She's encouraging me to breathe through them, and at this point they're getting a little bit more intense. I'm just like, okay. surely I should have dilated past 4 centimeters at this point. And so I think my midwife then asked to check me if I wanted to be checked. And I was like, yeah, girl, check me, because I know at this point I at least have to be like 7 or 8 centimeters. This baby is coming quickly. Lies. So she checked me and she said, you're still at 4 centimeters. I was like, what? Like, I'm contracting like this and I'm still at 4 centimeters? Okay. I was 95% effaced, so that made me feel a little bit better. So at this point, I was contracting on the bed, or not contracting, I was laboring on the bed that was in the room, because the birthing center is set up kind of like a bedroom. If you would imagine what a bedroom would look like, there was a bed in there was nightstands, dressers. And so I was laboring on the bed, and I asked her if I could get in the tub at this point, and she said not yet, because sometimes getting in the tub can slow down labor. And so I was like, okay. One thing about this process is that time is just kind of not a thing. Time was just like fleeing from me, and I didn't even realize it because I had to go into another world. I labored a little bit longer, and then eventually I was able to get in the tub. Now, a lot of people will say that the tub like helps with contractions, but for some reason for me, I didn't feel like it did help me that much. Tub for a couple hours, and I want to say the pain was definitely a 10 out of 10. I was in pain, and I'm just gonna keep it real. It hurt. Like, it really, really hurt. I did get to a point where I was telling my midwife that I didn't think I could do it. I was like, this really, like, it hurts. And I was tired. I started contracting at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I only got an hour of sleep after I started contracting. And so I was tired. Like, I was really, really tired. I kept telling her that, and she encouraged me. She was like, just, you can do it. You can do it. You know, it's ultimately up to you if you want to go to the hospital, if you want to get the epidural. But she assured me that if I could just give her 2 more hours, then the baby would be here. And at that point, it was 1 o'clock. So she asked me if I wanted to be checked again, and I told her, yes, I did. I was like, yes, please check me. And so she checked me, and at this point I was 8 centimeters dilated and still 95% effaced. Like she said, there was just like a little bit of cervix that hadn't thinned all the way out yet. So hearing that I was at 8 centimeters definitely encouraged me. I was like, okay, good, because I'm in pain, like real pain. So it felt good to know that I was in pain for a reason, and that I only had 2 more centimeters to go. So I get back in the tub, and I'm contracting and laboring and contracting and laboring, and the other midwife comes in, and she's like, I want to get you on the bed, like lift your legs back, and like I just want to see how you're pushing, because she explained that first time moms sometimes don't know how to push correctly. So I was miserable. I got on the bed because I didn't want to push on my back. I was like, that just doesn't feel natural to me. I didn't want to push on my back, but I was willing to try it because I was pushing on my hands and knees in the tub, and that just wasn't feeling good. So once she laid me on the bed, she was down there, you know, doing her midwife thing, like looking, inspecting, whatever. Her and the other midwife started whispering. Now, mind you, I am laboring in pain, and my midwives are down there looking at my lady parts, inspecting, and they're whispering back and forth to each other. So I'm looking at them, and I'm like, hello, excuse me, yes, hello, please somebody explain to me, why are you guys whispering about what's going on down there? Like, what's happening? Is my child on the way? Do you see his head? Am I really not 8 centimeters dilated? Is there something wrong? Like, I need somebody to explain to me what is happening. One of my midwives, she's like super sweet. Like she explains things in like a very like soft, delicate way. And then I have another midwife who she just like, you know, she just like tells me what it is. Like she knows me, she knows I just need her to like rip the band-aid off. So I'm the type of person, if I'm in pain, if I'm going through so I don't need you to be like sweet and like, I need you to just tell me. So she started being like really soft and I was like, just tell me what's going on. And she told me that I had a deviated, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'll put it on the screen. A deviated hymen. Now I'm not even going to try to explain and go into like the medical jargon of what that even means, but pretty much my part of my hymen was still intact. This might be TMI, but you know, we keeping it real because labor is just real, okay? So like part of my hymen was intact and that was blocking his head from coming out pretty much. And my midwife actually didn't tell me this at the time, but she wasn't all the way convinced that I was going to be able to deliver him naturally and vaginally, and she thought that we might have had to go to the hospital. So shout out to her for not telling me that during labor, because that would have defeated me. So pretty much she had to physically hold that piece of tissue out the way to allow his head to pass. So at this point I'm pushing on my back and it actually feels good. Every time a contraction hit me and I pushed, I felt the release of pressure, excuse me, as opposed to laboring in the tub, which is kind of disappointing because I really thought laboring in the tub was going to help me, but it didn't. I'm laying on my back and I'm pushing and she's like, yes, this is how you push, this is how you push, and I'm feeling good. And then I hear this loud pop, like a dense, loud, just like snap. And I was like, oh, that was my pelvis. And Kevin was like, no, because it was my midwives down there and it was Kevin. And Kevin was like, no, that was your knee. And I was like, no, that was my pelvis. But before I had a chance to even like think about it or feel it, another contraction hit me and I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing. I continue pushing and I'm asking them over and I'm like, is he coming? Is he coming? And my midwife was like, yes, like we wouldn't even have time to transport you to the hospital if we decided to go. Like he's coming, his head is right there. And so I look at Kevin because I know Kevin won't lie to me. And I know he won't even know how to lie to me. And Kevin was like, no, like his head is right there. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I keep pushing and then she's like, oh, his head, good job, his head is right there. And then I feel that ring of fire. Woo, Jesus. And I knew his head was there because I felt it. Like when they say it's the ring of fire, they're being honest. It is the ring of fire. It's definitely intense. At my appointments, I had expressed to them that I really was concerned about tearing. I didn't want to tear, and they expressed to me that the best way to not tear is once he starts crowning and you feel the ring of fire, to stop pushing. So of course in the appointments, I'm like, cool, I got this. Like, okay, ring of fire, I feel his head, stop pushing. In real life, when he started crowning and the ring of fire started happening and she was like, stop pushing, I was like, excuse me, stop pushing. Oh, okay. But I stopped pushing because I didn't want to tear. That was in my mind. I was like, you don't want to tear, you don't want to tear, you don't want to tear. So I stopped pushing and I just like breathed through it. Kevin literally said he thought my head was going to explode. So I'm breathing through it. And at this point, my timeline is all messed up, by the way, because like I said, I went to another world to, birth this child. But at this point, my family was in the room. It was my mom, Kevin's mom, my sister, my doulas, and my midwives, and Kevin, obviously. So I remember pushing to the ring of fire and then stopping. And I remember just kind of like sitting in that pain for a while. Not a while, maybe like a minute. I don't really know. Like I said, time was jacked up. I pushed just a little bit more and his head was out. And that's when I felt the relief, honestly. Like once his head was out and it was just his head, there was no more pain. Like everything was good. And I remember getting to that point because I was like, thank you, Jesus. And then she was like, once you have another contraction, you can, you know, just go ahead and push him out. And so I had another contraction. I remember pushing, and I just remember his body just like flopping out, like feeling him flop out. And I was just like, thank you, Lord, like it's over. Like I remember just wanting to take a nap. And once he fell out, I just remember like breathing and being like, oh, now I can take a nap. So he came out, and then he didn't cry immediately, which really freaked me out, if I'm being honest. And I asked, I was like, why isn't he crying? Why isn't he crying? And she said that it was just like a shock thing. Like sometimes when babies are born, it's shocking for them. And so it takes them a while to like, you know, get themselves together. And so she was just like rubbing his back and just like patting him and rubbing his back, and he started crying. And then she put him on my chest and we did skin to skin. And I just remember like looking at his face for the first time and being like, wow, like, you know, like that's my baby. I skipped a part. I skipped the part of feeling his head when he started crowning. She asked me if I wanted to feel. And initially I said no, because I was just ready to push him out. But I'm glad that I, you know, felt, because I'll literally never forget the feeling of, you know, like feeling his head starting to come out. That was just like a beautiful. But yeah, we did skin to skin, and then I had to deliver the placenta and all of that. So they actually gave him to Kevin, and him and Kevin did skin to skin, and that was a beautiful moment to witness, because it was just like, you know, this baby that you're preparing for 10 months pretty much. I know they say 9 months, but it's pretty much 10. And then you meet them for the first time. You just don't ever forget that feeling. So yeah, we were doing skin to skin, and I delivered the placenta, which was like a breeze after pushing out a baby. They had to give me a shot of Pitocin after he was born for my bleeding. It just helps to slow bleeding down because it helps your blood to clot. Then they just allowed our family to just bond. So the midwives left, the doulas left, and it was just like bonding for the family, which was really, really, really nice. At this point, I was in pain, and he had been born, so I was like, give me all the meds, give me all the drugs. So they just gave me some ibuprofen, and that was actually really nice. I remember that very vividly too, the moment where I delivered him and he was like earthside, so I could just take all the drugs that I wanted, because I hadn't been taking painkillers my entire pregnancy just because I didn't know what the effects were going to be, and I was a little nervous too, so it was nice to finally be able to get some painkillers in my body. And so a couple hours later, my midwife came in and she was like, I need you to go pee. I need you to show me that you can pee, just to make sure, you know, everything's like working okay. So I was like, okay. I went to move, and I forgot all about my pelvis, and I felt my pelvic bones rubbing against each other. Like I could not move, and I was like, I can't move. Like I'm not being dramatic. Like I genuinely can't move. And so she was like, well, if you can't get up to go to the bathroom, like we're going to have to use a catheter. And I was like, oh no. We're gonna have to figure something out, because no. I had my midwife, my mom, my sister, and the nurse midwife all had to help carry me to the bathroom. And I literally was just crying. I was sobbing because I was in so much pain. And I had my midwife holding my legs together to get me to the bathroom. Like literally, like I was shuffling, walking like this, like one leg, next leg, one leg. But it was like, like barely moving them, because I just couldn't walk. I went to the bathroom and everything was fine. I got back in the bed, and then after that, that's when I breastfed for the very first time. It was so cute to see him, because he was just like moving his head, and you could tell that he was looking for a booby. So I breastfed for the first time, and he latched on perfectly. Like the very first latch was easy. You know, he knew exactly what he was doing and what he was looking for. What? So after that, they let us, you know, bond again for a couple hours. And then right before we left to go home, they did like his newborn scan and stuff. So they weighed him, and this little chunky man was 8 pounds 15 ounces, so he was almost 9 pounds. And he was 21 inches long. Yeah. Yeah. 8 pounds 15 ounces heavy and 21 inches long. We got everything packed up and we headed home, and recovery was a little bit rough. I am 1 month postpartum. Yeah, you'll be 1 month old tomorrow. So he'll be 1 month tomorrow, and I'm just starting to feel like I'm fully recovered. For the first couple days, I just stayed downstairs. Like, I only got up to walk to the bathroom, and that was it. Everybody had to like bring food to me, different things like that, because I just couldn't walk, couldn't move. I couldn't even climb in my bed until a week after I had him. But yeah, we're recovering nicely. I thought that I could do it before, as in, you know, the unmedicated, whatever. While I was going through it, if I'm being honest, I got a little discouraged, and I was like, I don't know if I can actually do this. But now that I've done it, I definitely could do it again, 100%. I was in labor for 12 hours total, which my midwife said that normally first-time moms labor for 24 hours. So she said, since I labored for 12 hours with my first, the second baby, you know, should be a breeze. Are you waking up? Are you waking up for the video? Yeah. He's about to turn up because I know he's hungry. He's been asleep for a couple hours. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Follow me on Instagram. Make sure you're following me there because I'm really, really active. If you are oh, yawn. I love his yawn face. If you are already following me on Instagram, then you already know that he was born, and you've already seen pictures of him and everything. You're already ahead of the game. So make sure you are following me on Instagram if you're not already. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them down below. I would love to hear you guys' birth stories. If you just want to give me a quick little synopsis in the comments, comment down below. Whether you did it natural, whether you got an epidural, whether you got a C-section, you did a vaginal birth. I want to hear all the stories. Were you at home? Were you at the hospital? I want to hear them all. And yeah, we will see you guys in our next video. Can you say bye to the peoples? Can you say bye to the peoples? Say bye-bye. Can you say bye? Can you say bye? Can you say bye-bye? Can you say bye-bye? All right, bye, guys.